Hello YouTube. This morning I'm going to be smoking some ribs, or prepping some ribs to be smoked. These are pork ribs that I just picked up from the store. So the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, I've already started, but I'm going to go ahead and rip this membrane off. That's going to be my first step. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. Now that I have the membrane off, I'm going to go ahead and coat it with some mustard. I did also do a little bit of trimming, and I cut it in half so that it's a little bit easier to deal with. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the mustard on there. And you want to put the mustard on in a nice even layer. Then you want to spread it around with your hand. I usually wear gloves, but I don't have any right now. So I'm just using my bare hands, and I'll have to wash them. You want to do this to both sides. Get your mustard coating nice and even on both sides. You might have to add a little bit of mustard. Now that we've got a nice even coat of mustard on both sides of our meat, we're going to put some seasoning on both sides. With this coating, you want to be a little bit liberal, nice and thick. I'm using Killer Hogs, the barbecue rub. I'm actually going to use two different types of rub. I do like the Killer Hogs, but then I also like, Weber has some dry smoking rub that I like to use. So I'm going to do the Killer Hogs on this one, and then the Weber on this one. Now that we have a nice even coat of seasoning on our ribs on both sides, excuse me, I'm going to be smoking on my Traeger smoker today. And the heat is right about 240. I set it on smoke. I'm going to go turn it to 225. We want those to stay around 200, 225 while we're smoking today. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on the grill. The reason I cut them in half is so that they're easier to deal with on the Traeger. I've got the tailgater version, so it's kind of small. Not only that, I'm going to put them in the crock pot a little bit later. So this is like a lot easier to deal with. Alright, so these bad boys have been smoking for a couple hours now. Let's say about 2 or 3 hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to take them off, slather them in barbecue sauce, and then stick them in my crock pot that I have prepared. They're looking pretty good already. They've got some nice color to them, but they're not quite tender enough, so. Alright, so we're just going to apply the barbecue sauce with this sweet little Traeger baster, or brush, or whatever. So basically the most important thing is to get as much barbecue sauce in all the cracks and crevices all over this thing. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, I've got my crock pot on. It's been on for about 30 minutes now on high. Here's my ribs. We've already slathered them with barbecue sauce on the tops and the bottoms. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these in here. I don't want to get too much of them in the water. So I'm just going to let them sit in there like that. I have water in there, about 500 cc's, or about 2 cups of water. And then I have some onions that I fried with some garlic and some sea salt and a little bit of seasoning in there, just in the water, so that I can make a gravy after I cook this down a little bit, if I get enough drippings and stuff. So there we go. Not that hard. I'm gonna let this sit inside the crock pot for like 3, 4, 5 hours probably. Alright, so these bad boys have been smoking for been cooking in the crock pot for about 5 hours now. I'm going to take them out. This is the last step. I'm going to baste them, paint them up with that barbecue sauce, cover them really good, and then I'm going to cook them on my smoker on high for about 15 minutes. just to glaze that barbecue sauce on the outside of them. They're looking really good. Alright folks, here they are, perfectly smoked ribs, nice and done. Just that last process, we put some barbecue sauce on there and then cook the barbecue sauce, kind of let it caramelize on top of the ribs for the last process. And we have some potatoes, cheesy potatoes with ranch and bacon on the side. I know, nice and healthy.